This is RF from Country Lunch. We're going to continue on with part two of our interview with Paleo Mountain Man and Budcat 7.
The artifacts I've found have their portraits in them, and they wore headdresses with birds on them, bears on them, um, canine wolves, maybe, cats, humans, human head on a human head. If you look back at the Olmec images and places that were very strange and people that we don't even know where they went, where they came from, or where they went, they have images very similar. There's something very strange going on way up here in this part of the country. If when you find images that are very similar to images from Central America and the Olmec people and places like that, the images don't lie. They don't just crop up. When you get something that's so similar, you have to take it seriously. And there's images that are worldwide, like the sitting bird or the sitting vulture I've seen. You can see it on Gobekli Tepe, the sitting bird image with the
And the serpent too.
and the serpent, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
I mean,
Birds and serpents. I mean,
but I think the people in the Americas were in touch with each other. I think, because we found out later from the Native Americans that they knew about all of the tribes in America. They're just these were very intelligent people, and they knew about the rest of the tribes in the United States. They had contact with them. And like you were saying, Jimmy, you have the straight walls, you have these other walls that are more like serpents, like the Indian Trail by your house, for example, right? That's a long, winding road.
right.
So you have separate effigies made of snakes, turtles, whales, whatever it is. But you also have the same images incorporated into the walls, either built as a large effigy or just separate stones put into the walls as effigies. And even up on Jimmy's property, the main wall, the central wall that's on top of the ridge, has so many different art elements into it. It even has like a fella climbing through the walls in there. The way that they place the stones in there looks like a head and arms and legs, coming through the wall. So you have all these images in the walls, and these images could be saying something. They may be pictograms or stone-built petroglyphs, as I like to call them, but those pictures may be representations of information, where you could just look at the wall and say, okay, this is such and such a tribe, and this is their area. We found groupings of stones in the wall for no apparent reason. Stones of all the same size, all grouped together. And to me, that sort of suggested maybe a number. And numbers also could be a type of language or information that's in these walls. But again, with the walls, we came upon walls either on Jimmy's property or up on Mount Ephraim where long lengths of walls weren't particularly interesting at all, but we would come up to an area where it just was built with a lot of field stone, a lot of other stones, all flat stones turned on their sides or horizontally or vertically. And there's just no reason for it. It looked like a mosaic is what it looked like. So you'll walk along long lengths of these walls with nothing particular happening, and rather large stones too, especially down by Jimmy's lower property there. We also saw the same types of walls built on Mount Ephraim, where you have these very, very large stones, long lengths of wall with very, very large stones. And then all of a sudden, you'll come up to like what I call a mosaic of stones. It's just all these strange designs and odd designs. And then the wall would continue again, just uninteresting, just a lot of large stones piled up in a straight line. Nothing interesting until you, again, come up to one of these areas where it seems to be like a mosaic of stones there. And I just found that very interesting. Why would that be? Unless they were trying to convey some sort of idea or a message or provide some sort of information. Of course, on Jimmy's property, there's a lot of standing stones, but many of these standing stones may be travel markers, in order to direct people either to a specific trail. Even the way the serpent's head is pointed may be a directional marker that points.
I think you're right.
This direction.
Can I make a comment in here? Now, we don't know the landscape today, but if you think of the landscape and the ways they set up their camp, the chief lived here or whatever, and this was here, and they did a dance here, or they had a little fire here. Would the walls, or what they built in the walls, would that relate to what was happening inside their area?
Yes. There's part of the wall that has a niche in it, which is it's like a rectangle opening you can see through. It's an area where they sat and had like a school, I would say. And in that part of the wall was an empty chamber that had all these stones that had different animals on them. And to me, I just got the feeling that it was a place where you'd sit and talk about it. The wall was very strange at that place. It had bedrock around it that created sort of an enclosed area. Other parts of the wall were a little different. Some would have scenes in them. Like Dave was saying, there was one where the guy is climbing over from the west side to the east side of the wall, and there's a tunnel shaped like a howling wolf right there next to this big triangle-shaped stone that was all carved out and placed in very carefully. Why would you do that? If you're a farmer throwing stones up on a wall, you wouldn't do it. That throws that argument right out. This wall was carefully built. It lays on ledge. It doesn't lay on ground. The ledge has quartz running through it. And if you tap on the wall, any stone in the wall starts to ring. Why is that, too? Something about that, there's something we're all missing here. And if you think of, I'm going to use the word magic, because magic is sort of like the Jolly Green Giant. It's not real. But maybe at one time it was. Maybe what they were doing with the dolmens, with the walls, and with this acoustic qualities, maybe it was a type of magic, something we don't understand, we'd think was magic these days. There's something they were doing. There's a reason you do these things. You don't just build these walls. There's a reason you do it. And why did they build them to last so long? Every stone, you cannot pull a stone out of the wall. You can pull the top stones out, but everything else is pinned down in there. I mean, to last forever. There's small quartz stones, rounded and oval-shaped quartz stones, orange ones stuck in the wall in different places, sort of in different areas in the wall, every 20 feet maybe. And it's just very strange. Why would you do that? It seems like a technology.
I found that in Mallory, too. While I was at Mallory, just every so many feet you'd find a white quartz stone that almost looked like an effigy or an orange quartz, part of the decorative elements to the wall, but also providing the viewer with extra information in there.
Yeah, it was an information, right? Information coming from the walls, and they were like glyphs. Those sections of walls that you're talking about, the spirals, and some of them look like human effigies or whatever, but they're glyphs, and they did tell a story, I believe. And whether they're numbers, if you think about the old Mayan and Aztec glyphs, they used rectangle bars and stripes around their glyphs with pictographs and things like that. But same thing with the wall, I believe. You could read the wall.
And even in those cultures, too, I found out from my research that in those cultures, they took numbers as their name. So their name would be like Jimmy 7 or Budcat 7 or something like that. They also used numbers in their names. So if names are numbers, then numbers can be words. So to me, when I find these groupings of stones in the wall that are all relatively the same size, 9 of them, 12 of them, 15 of them, all grouped together in one section of the wall, you got to say to yourself, well, why? You see the way that the stone walls are built, and they're not built in this way. So to me, it's suggesting that they're trying to maybe convey a message. The numbers are only part of the message in the wall, but it has to be read together with the other artwork in the wall to make any sense of it.
Think about the
we're-
aspect of the wall that's astronomical. It might have something to do with that. Maybe that part of the wall where those stones are, and they're rectangle shaped stones, and usually there's one of them right in the center of the whole spiral or glyph that will come out, and it's usually made of like a mica material, long rectangle stone, and you've seen them, and I found them in more than one wall. It's very strange because it's the only one that will come out. It slides in and out like it's almost the key to go into the wall. You put that key in, that mica stone, and the whole wall turns on, or the glyph turns on. Or they looked at these things as living things. They had spirits in them. They were living to them. And each stone that was carved was a living thing, I think. They had beings in them. And they thought their senses were beings, living beings. And everything was living to them. And if you start to think that way, you might be able to understand a little bit why they did what they did with these stones and put the images in them and put the images in the walls. And when they're walking up a trail and there's a round boulder there and another one over there, it tells you which way to go. Stones told you things. The turtle effigies in Mallory and on my property, the turtle effigies, they're split stone cairns. There's usually 3 of them. They're split, and that tells a whole story also. That tells a real lot, actually, the split stone, the turtle image, the 3 planes of existence, things like that. You can get really deep into it if you want, and that's what they believed, and you can see it in their artwork. If you're really intent on looking at their artwork and trying to get into their mind, you can do it. You won't get verbatim what they were thinking, but you will get close enough because images are powerful and they transcend. And they put them in quartz, and quartz holds information even to this day. I guess they knew what they were doing,
Well, the white quartz and the white stones are definitely of some importance to them. And I noticed at Mallory they use them as visual markers as well to find their way through the woods there, because they can really be seen at great distances. But I also found interesting about, like on Jimmy's property, the central wall up there, and some of these other effigies, these snakehead effigies, serpent head effigies that we found. In those effigies, you often found a triangular stone, a square stone, a 5-sided stone. I'm sure if you look even more, you might find, 6-sided stones. I've actually found those on my channel, 8-sided stones, 6-sided stones. So those also may be numerical values in stone that are put into the effigies. As Jimmy says, these are like a combination of things. It's an effigy, it's a sign, it's a marker of some kind. It's trying to provide information. It's trying to tell a story. So you have all these elements in the walls, but only in certain areas. Other areas, no. But you have to have a subtle eye, really, because these things appear subtly in the walls. Some of them not so subtly, but you have to understand the subtle artwork in the walls. It's not so easy to notice, but when you train your eye to look at it, you start seeing more stuff. And I think a lot of people just look at the walls. They don't see anything in particular in there because they just don't have the eye to see it the way that Jimmy does, I do, and other people. There's a lot of other people looking at the walls now, and they're starting to say the same thing. I turned a lot of people on Facebook through it. Just, maybe he never realized what was going on in there.
It sounds like you're talking about a key, which they use for encryption or something like that. That's a strange way of looking at it.